Yeah, readers, let's take a look at Bitcoin. We're going to look at the logarithmic chart. We're going to check on this is an update for tracking Bitcoin to 20K. So we have, for anyone who's new, we have done a technical setup using particularly the logarithmic chart. If you don't know what that means, just go do some research, go look it up. Um, and we have a technical setup which we are watching, which brings Bitcoin to 20K or even lower. Um, and there's a few kind of trigger points that we're watching for to see if that will actually happen. So if certain things happen in a particular order, then we know that it's going to 20K, and we can kind of prepare ourselves potentially for that. All right, so again, logarithmic chart in TradingView, which, oh, you can't see it here, but down here at the bottom, there's a little button that says log, and it will change the scale of the chart to logarithmic. So what we've been tracking is we have a double top. So this is the previous all-time highs in the 60s. Both of these tops, we have a double top pattern. Support level of the double top is down here. And for the second top, we actually have a head and shoulders pattern making that double top. So we have kind of fractal technical structures happening here. So left shoulder, head, right shoulder. So we have broken out of the head and shoulders pattern. Okay, so we have broken out. We've actually retested it twice. And you can see we have this kind of counter trend line happening, and we're sitting at the counter trend line. This is weekly level. So last week we closed at this counter trend line. You could even make an argument that this might be a kind of flag pattern, right? So you would have A, B, C, D. This is a bearish flag, right? So we have a bearish flag for the retest of the head and shoulders, fractals, 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 technical structures on technical structures, right? But it's interesting. I find it interesting to see how all these things kind of combine together. So the expectation at this point is that we're going to break through this bearish flag pattern, and we're going to go to the next level of support, which, well, I mean, technically we could say it's going to do something like this. I'll do some arrows on here so you can see, right? So next level of support potentially, right? So that's the breakout of the bearish flag pattern. Retest of the flag, pushing down through. If we keep, these technical structures keep happening, we're going to push down through to the double top support level, which is one of the key support levels we're watching for this tracking to 20K thing. So this is a very, very, very important level. If this breaks, okay, so if the double top breaks, then our expectation for a target for the double top, and I've done this before, so sorry if this is repeating for some people, but if you haven't seen this analysis yet, the double top target, just kind of standard technical analysis, is to take, the distance from the double top down to the bottom, like that M shape, and just extend it from the support, okay? So doing that real simple estimation, that target itself, if the double top breaks and gets confirmed, that extension takes us into the teens. All right, so let's say 13,500. That target itself. So keep that in mind. But generally speaking, we have this big zone. This big gray zone here is what we're watching for. Now, what is the big gray zone? The big gray zone covers this previous high of 20K for Bitcoin back in the end of 2017. The reason we're watching 20K so closely is because we broke out of that in 2020 in that recent bull run, and we never retested it. So we're always expecting a retest. We broke 20K and never retested. So we need to retest that level theoretically. Now, the gray zone is the zone between that 20K and just the previous, the previous highs of a couple of years ago, let's just say. So generally speaking, this is like a big liquidity zone, we could say, and it's just kind of a guide for your eyes. So the double top brings us right down into that zone. So generally speaking, that's our zone. And so if all this stuff happens, we could get to 20K. It could dump through into this gray zone. But this gray zone tells us if there is liquidity here, which is what it's trying to kind of just signify that there could be a lot of liquidity here potentially. We're going to potentially get a lot of buyers and there'll be a wick. So the idea is this is going to wick down into this zone somehow, potentially close back above or near 20K. And that's our retest. So we get that retest of the 20K. So here's the thing, right? So we have broken the head and shoulders pattern, as I mentioned, into this bearish flag type of situation here. But we've broken the head and shoulders, and to do the target extension for the head and shoulders, you just take the length of the head down to what's called the neckline, which is this right here, right? So you measure from here to here, and you just extend it as close to the breakout in this case as possible. And that's because head and shoulders can be kind of diagonal like you see on the screen. So you want to get it just close to the breakout to get an estimate. Now the target of the head and shoulders brings us down to, let's say 25.5, which is below the double top support. So the question becomes, do we close below the double top support for that head and shoulders target? Or do we wick down into here, get enough liquidity and bulls to buy back up above support? If this support holds, double top support holds with closes, candle closes, do we not go to 20K, right? So this is what we're all trying to track with these levels here. So this zone I have highlighted in yellow is the important zone, and we need to see whether we get just wicks into here or if we get closes into here. And if we start to get closes in here, that means we've broken the double top support, and very, very, very high probability that we are going to 20K and probably spiking into this gray zone down here. And we do have this much longer term channel for all of Bitcoin's lifetime, right? So interestingly, that support of that channel, the support of that channel, which is a trend line, coincides with 20K right here. And it looks like we want to sort of just float on over to that 20K right here, right? So let's just see. Let's see if we can kind of call that. That would be interesting. That'll be fun. So this is a little speculative call. We're going to see if we can get the 20K to match perfectly with that channel trend line. All right, guys, Bitcoin, that's Bitcoin tracking to 20K. These are the technical structures that we need to watch to see whether that's actually going to happen. Personally, I think it's going to happen. In my eyes, it needs to happen before we can get any more bullishness, I think. And it would be good for that to happen, actually, because we get that kind of support, right? We're not hanging out in this weird little zone that we've been in. Get that support that gives us a support and gives us a place to move off into a new bullish trend. Cool, guys. Bitcoin update, Bitcoin tracking at 20K. Give a follow, like, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. Chart Daddies on Twitter, Cash Daddies on Twitter, and have a good weekend. See ya.